Our second reading is from Exodus 2, 1 through 10. Now a man from the house of Levi went and married a Levite woman. The woman conceived and bore a son, and when she saw that he was a fine baby, she hid him 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and plastered it with bitumen and pitch. She put the child in it and placed it among the reeds on the bank of the river. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. The daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river, while her attendants walked beside the river. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her maid to bring it. When she opened it, she saw the child. He was crying, and she took pity on him. "This must be one of the Hebrews' children," she said. Then his sister said to the Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and get you a nurse from the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Yes." So the girl went and called the child's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child and nurse it for me, and I will give you your wages." So the woman took the child and nursed it. When the child grew up, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, because she said, "I drew him out of the water." So last year, I talked about the sacredness of a mothering love. And today I want to talk about the power of a mothering love. Because we certainly see the power of these women, the power to defy empire, the power to save this child, the power to see something in this child, and to make sure that this child was able to achieve its potential. And through this child, wondrous things occurred. There is a sacredness in that, but I think we often overlook the power that we have individually and especially when we're together. So you have Pharaoh, who is concerned because these people that are in his community are growing and becoming stronger, and he sees them as an internal threat. And whenever we look in the Hebrew Bible, whenever we look at the New Testament, we are called to care for one another, to not dwell on the ways in which we separate ourselves from one another. Because as soon as we get to preschool, kids start separating themselves in various ways. You know, who's got the right toy or the right shoes or the right whatever. Those of us who are raised with red hair know that so often we're separated from. Think about all the ways we divide. But we're called to be one. We're called to be good neighbors to one another. And here's Pharaoh, forgetting the old covenant that Pharaoh had with Joseph's people. And now he's oppressing these people within his borders. God wanted these people to survive and to thrive because, like all of us, they were God's children. And these women were able to change the dynamics, initially by these midwives, Shiphrah and Puah, who said, "We're not killing these children. Whatever is going on with the parents and with leadership, these children are innocent, and we're going to care for them. We're going to ensure their survival." When the rules became more harsh, okay, you're not killing them immediately at birth, then throw them in the Nile. These women, who like most marginalized people, learn how to work within the rules in ways that bend the rules to ensure survival. So little Moses was thrown into the river, but not in a way that would, result in him drowning. He was placed gently in the waters, in a basket, in a place where he would be found. And who can? I mean, honestly, when we see a baby, don't we all? It's like, oh, how cute. Oh, what? Right? That mothering or fathering instinct just kicks in. It's interesting that Pharaoh didn't do this job himself, because honestly, I think when most of us get there and the reality of that cute little squirming baby is there, what does our heart call us to do? To love and protect. He sends somebody else to do the job. Maybe because he knew, as hard as his heart was, it might not stay that hard if it was him doing the deed, because they're awfully cute. These women worked together, and you had a different sort of mothering. You had the mother who gave birth to Moses, and you had those midwives who were looking at these kids, and out of the mothering of their own heart, choosing to protect. You had a sister standing guard over that baby. You had a stepmother who takes that child and raises that child as her own. Sometimes it takes a lot of us to bring those kids up. I think every time it takes a lot of us. I'm looking at, parents and grandparents and siblings getting kids shuttled to ball games and recitals and school, and it takes a lot of folks to care for these kids. I don't know if you know the origin of the U.S. version of Mother's Day, because there's always been a mother's, we had Mothering Sunday. There have been a lot of mother celebrations through the centuries. But in the U.S., it started as an anti-war protest of women who were so heartbroken of losing their husbands and losing their children. And these women started working together to say, surely diplomacy is a better option. Sometimes war is inevitable, but sometimes it's not. If we join early enough and we look across the divisions and recognize, we're losing our husbands and our kids, and they are too. Maybe we can find a way to intervene before it comes to that point. So originally that was Mother's Day. Women, from the brokenness of their hearts, wanting to never see this happen again. And somehow we ended up converting it into a Hallmark Day. I happen to be okay with Hallmark days because we need to celebrate the joy of bringing our kids into the world and raising them up. And again, that looks a lot of different ways, and we can look around this room and see many ways that this is being done, right? But there's a power that we see with these women in the Old Testament. There's a power that we see with Mary when she hears the news that she is pregnant, and she says, "Praise God who is already bringing down empires, and my child will be part of that." There's a power in giving birth. Can't imagine. There's a power in rearing up. There is a power in joining together to live into our values. We've got billions of people on this planet. Half of us are women. Most of them are mothers or grandmothers. You throw in the aunts and the sisters. What would the world look like if we took seriously the power that we have? Because there are pains that we have been through. There are pains that we have seen in our own lives, in the lives of our children, in the lives of our loved ones. These midwives didn't sit idly by. They saw something wrong and said, "We are not going to be part of that." The mother, in the love she had for her child, says, "I can't obey this law. I can't allow my child to be sacrificed in this way." She followed, technically, she did put the kid in the water, but she said, "How can I hedge my bets that my baby might live?" The sister, this is here I am, God send me. We see and we sing, "Here I am." This sister said, "Here I am, and I will stand guard over this basket in a river full of crocodiles." Right? That's a power there that this woman had. She was a child. But she knew it was not right. Pharaoh's daughter. You do not defy Pharaoh. Period. But she saw this child. She recognized, this is not one of my people. This is one of the Hebrew children. But I am going to disobey because the law is wrong. And oh, isn't he so cute? So she took this child and raised this child as her own. What do we know when we look in our own lives and we look in the world around us? What do we know needs to be changed? Because this is a day of celebrating the mothers and all of those who are doing the mothering, the stepmoms or, whoever. But it's also a chance to realize that each of us has power granted to us by God, and we can make the world better. Guided by God and empowered by God. And sometimes that means standing alone. And sometimes it means working with one another. It's easy for us to say, "What on earth can I do?" But there are billions of us that in the middle of the night are saying that. What on earth can I do? What can we not do if we're honest with ourselves, if we're guided by God and we recognize that God is in us and God is with us and God empowers us the way that He empowered these women in Exodus. I pray that you celebrate today, that you get all the Hallmark goodies, you know. It'll help our economy, and it'll make us feel good because the flowers are beautiful and all the rest. But don't forget, this holiday began as a recognition of the possibilities that women have when we work together and when we open our hearts, when we recognize, just as we hurt, so do others. How do we make the world better? May God guide you wherever you go, whatever decisions you make. May God be with you, and may God empower you with the mothering love that can change the world. May it be so.